So, again, for all of the people that go into the comments and that are observing all that's coming forth with all of these cults, now peep game, because now everybody's being kind. Now everyone will have the opportunity to see how intelligent people get conned. And it's really not a laughing matter. Again, this is technique. This is pimp con technique. Playing to people's emotions. Somebody could tell you logically, but this is not about logic. It is about emotions. And people that have been traumatized are ripe to be conned. Again, people that are traumatized are ripe to be played. Now, we do realize that when you go to the movies and you watch these scary movies, right? If you've ever gone to a scary movie and you screamed inside the movie, you're not there inside the film. You're watching it. Your brain doesn't necessarily fully know the difference between you sitting there in the movie theater or sitting inside of your house and you being actually in the whole drama that's unfolding. So please, I invite you, take your emotions and put them right here for safekeeping. Put your heart, especially women and mothers. This is a key moment opportunity. Take your emotions and put them for safekeeping in your heart and your care and your love for your grandparents and your ancestors and all of that feel good stuff. And put them right here. Put them to the side for safekeeping and for protection. Take your heart and your emotions. I'm going to say it again because we need to listen 3 times, 9 times, 10 times. Put them to the side. Put your emotions to the side for safekeeping. For safekeeping. And incorporate your logic because there's a technique, a literal technique. I keep imploring you all to get educated on the techniques of cults, irregardless of the skin color. Get educated because right now, all of the intelligent people who may be calling folks stupid and this and that for the, for being in cults are all being played. And this is what I'm going to say. It's called crazy making. There is a technique in conning, and it's called crazy making. Initially, as I explained, your heart, your bleeding heart, that's the term, or your emotional heart is going to want to protect women and children. And then your defenses will go down and you won't see the patterns. This is exactly how cons get in. This is exactly. So people, even though they're not there, to a certain degree have been traumatized in the brain because everyone's heart is going out to the children of the cult of Joseph Robinson, the children, the child that has recently got out of this cult, and the babies that are yet unborn. That is instinctive. That is exactly what is being exploited. So, what is going to be the balance? How will we deal with this? Will we use critical thinking or will we continue to be played off of our emotions? What can we do? Step back and think 3 times, 9 times. This is what must be applied with any religious, or I invite you, can't tell grown folks what to do, to apply the same litmus test and standard for anyone trying to come into your life or ask you for resources or ask you for entrance to your trust, to your body, access to your children, to get into your drawers. People play on your emotions. So, in order to protect yourself, your emotions, so you don't get driven crazy and get drawn into this thing now that everybody's been watching all this cult stuff for months and there are numerous cults, it is necessary to handle folks with healthy boundaries and to vet them and ask questions. No matter how many babies are put in front of you, no matter how much, oh my gosh, oh, it's family. Oh my gosh, the family, they're so nice, they're so sweet. Healthy boundaries. Ask yourself questions. Midwives have been, their life has been put at risk. Folks have been put at risk when folks have not been forthcoming about sexually transmitted diseases. The information has been put out there, and more young people have been lured in. Folks have contradicted themselves every other second. People have not been transparent. Folks are, as a collective, we are not asking the right questions. People don't ask questions before they sleep with somebody. They don't ask questions and ask for contracts before they give money. And the babies and the women are put out front in order to have access to your emotions. This is how we are played every single time, because we have been programmed to feel not spiritual or not, or bad, or feel not giving or unforgiving if we are rude and ask questions. At this point, when just yesterday, hours ago, people were told to mind their business. You're not qualified. Any of your questions were limited and were answered with rhetoric. Technique. Cons do not answer direct questions. Cons do not ask direct questions. What they do is they pose the question back to you, and the question plays on your heart and your insecurities. This is unfortunate, but I can tell you what has been painful, and it's a technique. It's called crazy making, to make you think you're crazy. The immediate response of most of the community, which is inherent, which is being played, is response to protecting babies and children. That is why women and children are put out in the front. They lend credibility. When you see a crying baby in front of somebody, whatever, your inherent instinct is to protect that child and protect the women. But a terrorist or a con artist is going to play to you. That is how they sell you things that are cancer causing, is by putting smiling faces in front of you and showing people running through cornfields. That's how they would sell you. You will be sold GMO foods. You willingly go into the store and purchase it. The results don't add up, but you have been played off of your emotions and your feelings. So understand, I invite you to just consider that people have actually been affected, and our heartstrings go out to the women and children of all of these cults. But do understand that is a technique and precisely how you can get open and play. TV, look at these cussing ads on TV. Am I calling someone a liar? No, I'm not one to call someone a liar. But I would invite people to look and observe, not just with the emotions, the patterns. The patterns are going to tell you, give you so much information and tap you into your logic, right? Magicians are called magicians for a reason. A sleight of hands is called a sleight of hands for a reason. Look at the patterns. And unfortunately, who's handling the money? It's unfortunate that it comes down to money, but a lot of us are being played. You have the right to ask questions of anyone asking you for help, or anyone telling you to give donations of your hard-earned energy, right? Your life energy that you use to earn finances that you're going to give away without questioning. We are being tested. After all of this time and energy has been put out, have we been so entertained that we haven't learned our lesson? Do we allow anybody toting a Bible, a guru, chanting, anyone saying namaste, or throwing the words brother or sister around to play on our emotions? So this is a lesson. This is a test to see if we have matured, if we have learned anything, any lessons, and if we will vet people. If we will allow ourselves to be respectfully uncomfortable and ask questions of everybody before you give your life force energy. It's not the money, but it's what it represents. When we still are too embarrassed or uncomfortable or so conditioned to do the right thing, that we won't ask questions and vet people. So the result, whether it's our intention or not, is the same. We will continue to be scammed, played. Access will be given to our children, into our heart and mind, over and over and over. And at this point, we're so depleted as a people that what could happen, which with many people, which is why many people in cults don't come forward, is because they can't believe. You can't wrap your mind around being scammed. You can't wrap your mind around the hurt. You can't wrap your mind around the fact that a woman, a mother with a child, would participate in scamming you. So I'm not accusing anyone. Same thing as I left Joseph Robinson's camp. But I will tell you, I could not wrap my mind around that many women and children. Well, it's not the children, but that many women turning a blind eye to scamming. But if they're already in deep, they're going to protect the status quo. Because they're in there because of their insecurities, and that hasn't been handled. So, before you offer any help or assistance and access to your resources of your attention and your money, it is healthy and responsible. It is responsible to ask questions and not to give anything until you can verify who and what you are speaking with at any given moment. You can't see which way people are angling the camera. Any questions that no one is asking these folks questions, and the questions are diverted, and narcissists will keep plugging right along on their agenda. So unfortunately, as I sit and I look at the patterns, it was heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. For all of you people who want to know how intelligent people are scammed, here's the opportunity to see if black people have learned their lesson. If we have learned our lesson, being trusting of everybody that comes out to shake your hand or a sister. It's intense. I still have people read the stuff that I'm seeing. I'm telling you, the stuff that I'm seeing, the patterns, the frame of reference that I have. I'm watching this con artist, Joseph Robinson, put out a paid advertisement on Instagram, putting his daughter out front, that she's been a raw living foodist for 31 years, and the benefits okay, great. You and your 100 acres of land, so you want people in Babylon to send you money. For what? For what? For the same regurgitated music over and over and over. This is deep. You're paying them your Babylon bucks to be conditioned. You're going to voluntarily offer up your brain and your psyche. So this is, hopefully folks will get this. This is how intelligent people get conned. You're going to pay them. Why? Because of your desires. What you want to see so badly from the trauma. You want to see us black men and women together and our families healed. But it's a process. And if you put that process in somebody else's hands, you're asking for trouble who you have not vetted. It's not our fault that certain things happen, but our lives are our responsibility. And I invite you to try and emphasize, it's going to require us to be uncomfortable and ask questions, because between all the pimps, the preachers, party pimps, the doctors, all these businesses, everyone is looking to make money off of us because we're just so drunk on religion and traumatized and beat down that we're just open to any old thing. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is. So we need to be uncomfortable, or I invite you, I can't tell grown folks what to do, to allow yourselves to be respectfully uncomfortable and ask the challenging questions. If someone cannot answer those questions, red flag, red flag, red flag. They put women and children out front, and it is a process. It's called crazy making. It's called crazy making. Look this up. I keep inviting you folks to get educated on cults. How do you think cults get hundreds and thousands of followers? How do you think they have all of these mostly overseas, mostly young people that I watch coming through the airports that are recruited over? This is not new. You know, somebody inviting you to their church, or you should come to my church, or the ones that are coming overseas, putting on different sets of outfits, whether they be a dashiki thrown this way, or red, gold, and green, or locks. It's the character and the behavior. All of your questions will be answered with rhetoric. Again, put your emotions and your heart to the side for safekeeping, and not be embarrassed or uncomfortable to ask anyone at the threshold, to ask pertinent questions. If they can't answer the questions, as my mother would say, feed people with a long handled spoon. Because I'm watching all the people that have all the comments and stuff to say. Unfortunately, folks are being played. So it is in order for us to learn the lessons of everything that's coming out from the hip hop community, the so-called wannabe conscious community, the religious community, the mega churches, the ashrams, the synagogue scams. It will be necessary for us, or I invite you to consider that it may be necessary for us to get uncomfortable. Be respectful to yourself first. It is necessary for us to be uncomfortable and ask the uncomfortable questions, because women or babies are put out in the front to get you to give your money. And not only are you giving your money, you're giving access to your thought processes, because we're too trusting. We are too trusting. Women are too trusting. Mothers are too trusting. So we have to guard our hearts with intelligence, with wisdom, from lessons hard earned. You just can't read this in a book. It would be a conflict of interest for someone to tell you what their motivations are, which is why you must ask questions. You must ask questions. And not only must you ask questions, require proof. If someone has a problem with you asking a question about their motivation, red flag. If someone has a problem with you asking a question for their motivation, red flag. We're too caught up in the feel good. And we don't have the luxury to be scammed anymore. We don't have it. Because when you are scammed and you are traumatized, it comes at a cost to you psychologically. It definitely has a cost to the children, who are now going to be another cycle of potential poverty, another cycle of potential mental, emotional instability. We cannot afford to continually allow people access to our pockets, our minds, our genitals, without asking questions and being uncomfortable. So before you give somebody money, a dime, before you tell anybody yes, before you start saying brother and sister, there could be a brother and a sister or a member of your community. These are catch phrases that are trigger words that get you to drop your defenses. Just because somebody shakes your hand, you don't know their intent. Look at the patterns. It could be any skin color. Unfortunate, we don't want to be uncomfortable. We are allowing ourselves to be had. So have we learned our lesson? Are we going to be respectfully uncomfortable and ask the uncomfortable questions and require folks to provide proof? Are we going to see the patterns? Are we going to see the money trails, the PayPal links, the lack of explanation? Will we not require any kind of test? No kind of testing? This is equivalent to sleeping with somebody and not knowing their results. And even if you knew their STD paperwork or results, you do realize that they would have to be tested again some months. And even then, if you look at their behavior, no matter what the test says, if you look at their behavior and if they're open to anything and if they're very promiscuous, even if the tests say negative, you're opening yourself to whatever their patterns and their behaviors are. Have we learned our lesson? How do you demonstrate that you've learned your lesson? Because I'm telling you, Every time we trust and we get hurt more and more, it makes us more vulnerable and weaker. So it requires strength to respectfully require questioning and proof, and still being watchful and vetting everybody that comes across your path before you let them into your heart, your mind, your wallet, your legs, access to your children. We are required at this point to use healthy boundaries with everyone and everything. Bank loans, insurance, people selling insurance, business partners, contracts. If someone has a problem with you asking questions, that is a humongous red flag. Just because some folks come along saying brother and sister, oh, I do that too. We come from the same place. Oh, we have that in common. Your defenses go down. People will be offended when you don't want to hug everybody. I invite you to have healthy, it is loving, it is self-respecting to have healthy boundaries with everyone. This is an age where folks can peel off a whole mask of makeup. What do they call it? They even call it some kind of magic makeovers or whatever. This is an age where anyone can play and create fantastic Star Wars type movies with editing software and the music to go with it to play into your emotions. So to a certain degree, I invite you to consider, we've all been traumatized to a certain degree watching this whole thing play out. But this is an opportunity for us to get a lesson of healthy boundaries. If someone has a problem with you asking a question, I don't care if it's a mother, I don't care if they're, unless it's, even sometimes it could be an emergency, you have to use your critical thinking and look at your surroundings and look at patterns. I invite you, put your emotions, mothers, women, put your emotions in your heart here for safekeeping. Put it right here and ask the questions. Even more so because nobody's coming to save you. Because no one is coming to save you, it is your responsibility, your respectful responsibility to yourself to ask the uncomfortable questions. Any mother, anybody with a baby, anybody saying brother and sister, we eat the same food, I'm vegan. Put your emotions and your heart here and ask the uncomfortable questions, because now it's a litmus test. Everyone's being tested to see if you learned your lesson. And it's not in words. We're being tested. All of you do an internal check to see if you just say yes because it's a baby. They've got red, gold, and green on. Yes, you can have my money. Yes, this person is so conscious. Wow, I want to get with them. Let me open my drawers. This is a good catch. Oh, yes. Oh, they drink green smoothies. Wow, this person is clean. They're not a thief. They don't do drugs. This is a test. Warning, this is a test. Will you pass the test? Will you qualify? Will you set a higher standard? Will you take your emotions and your heart and put them to the side for safekeeping and use logic so that we can grow and progress? Will you put the protection, your own protection and your own hard-earned finances that you need to grow your own fruits and vegetables and for you to buy your own plane tickets? Will you squander it just because someone puts a baby in front of you? Or will you ask the uncomfortable questions, and will you require receipts for yourself? Or will we continue to be scammed? So I'm just saying this because it was very painful. My sister, I'll give you all an example, and I'm going to close with this. My sister said to me after we saw some other folks come into the cult that we were in, say, I noticed they were very cold to me. I said to my sister, no, that must be you. You can't be selfish. We came for another way of life. This isn't Joseph Robinson, the cult members' cult. No, she said, no, I know this person here was very, very cold. This is all she said. This is intuition now. They're cold. And I was like, you need to stop being selfish. This is probably just your ego. She said, I'm telling you, And my sister was very upset. She said, I'm telling you, this person is cold and is not, and I, so, I'm telling my sister, maybe it's just you, because I know you can be selfish or whatever. So I don't discount anyone. And I started to look and I started to see some stuff and I was like, wow. But I see what she's saying, but I can't figure out why would they be cold. When your intuition is telling you something, anybody could be telling you the truth, right? And the truth is manipulated all the time. Turns out my sister was on point. Sometimes other people, that's why a crackhead could tell you not to go into um, a burning building, or there's some other drug dealers with some guns just went into a building. Just because you don't like their persona, or because they eat meat or they worship Jesus, that doesn't mean they can't see anything. There's so many different levels of trickery out here. So my sister said that she noticed something cold. And in the end, I was so heartbroken because she was on point. I just could not wrap my mind around women with children. I had this whole idea of coming together as community and willingly giving over my resources. I want these children to have an opportunity for community and stuff that we had never had. And it would never occur to me that some folks are in so deep. Some folks may have been abused so much, or all their resources are gone, that they're going to protect the cult leader, who I'm not even thinking of as a cult leader at that point. So you can get wide open on your emotions. And when I finally had to see it and acknowledge the patterns, I can't tell you how painful. I can't tell you how painful. That's part of the trauma. That's part of the crazy making. That's part of what keeps people in a cult, because you are so torn. We're looking across people that you have formed bonds with, that you're being protecting of, and you just can't believe that someone would turn a blind eye to what's going on, or you don't know their full backstory. Most of these people, you don't even know their real names. You don't know these people on the internet. You don't know people. A lot of times you're in relationships with people that you don't know because you won't ask questions and you won't require proof. And not requiring proof as a collective and a people, we got to think about our esteem, not the feel good talk, but our esteem. Do we have enough self respect that we will ask the uncomfortable questions? So I'm going to close with this. Last thing I'm going to say. This particular cult leader has taken out a sponsored ad on Instagram, right? Because Facebook is a little saturated. People have peeped that out. YouTube, you can, it's being peeped there. So the cult leader is relentless. They don't have a conscience. They're not operating like the average person. They would use anybody. Again, look at the pattern. They would use anybody's talents. If you have video editing skills, if you have basketball skills, if you have hair skills, if you have sewing skills, and you will be exploited. So they're selling, they purchased a paid sponsorship to sell the high priest's music. It's the same music with different pictures that pull at your heartstrings. Now it's with their new 3 babies that have just been born all around the same time. It's the same music that's actually, this is Pimp con game and technique. Over and over, it's the same lyrics over and over and over. The music is not good. It's not, it doesn't have a tone, but then by the same token, you have lots of music that sounds fantastic that is trash in terms of the quality and the message. But it's the same thing being regurgitated over and over and over to indoctrinate you. So because you see the pictures of coconut trees and you see red, gold, and green and locks, it's going to encourage you to take your $15 or your $20. If you get 10,000 people that put $20,000 to download this music off of cdbaby.com, then he makes his money. These people are what do you call it? What did he call it? They do creative financing. If you look at this younger cult leader, they do creative financing. They find different ways to extract and the resources of the different cult members. And a lot of times you're supporting, you don't know his character, but in your mind, subconsciously, you're supporting women and children. You're supporting a vision of what you want to see. But I'm here to tell you, you are being played. So it's not about calling somebody a liar, but require require a litmus test, require proof, ask questions. You are required, or I invite you to set a standard of self-respect to require proof from anyone that's asking you for resources or asking you to give them an amen. Because I'm continually watching, if you find a few patrons, whether they be white or black, the people are telling you all kind of stuff, but they will, as long as you're willing to give that money, they got some images for you, they got some corny music for you, but don't sleep on the corny music because you play it over and over and over again. It's a way you're submitting and allowing yourself to be programmed into the cult. So have we learned our lesson, or we continue to allow ourselves to be played? All right, take care.